Good morning. I'd like to call the Municipal District of Tabor, May 26, 2026, regular meeting of council to order. There's an agenda in front of us. I'll take any additions or deletions, but I do want to advise that the closed session item will be dealt with before number 11 on MD lands and grazing. Any other additions or deletions?
I can accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Any questions? Those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, declaration of conflict, pecuniary and/or conflict of interest.
I have a pecuniary interest on grazing leases, so I'll be stepping out from 11.1.
Thank you.
I got a cultivated lease, so I'm stepping out for land sales and anything to do with lease land.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to protocol items, announcements, and registration. We have a few of those we're going to bring forward. Do you want me to do it? No, okay. So I'm just going to go through. We have several items that are happening in our MD that are really great. So we would just like to congratulate the Vauxhall High School, W.R. Myers High School, and Horizon Christian School on their recent graduations. And then to acknowledge the Tabor Christian Reformed Church on their 75th anniversary of being a leader in our community. And also tonight, it is Rural Physicians Week in Alberta. And tonight, Dr. Wes Steed has been selected as the 2026 Rhapsody Physician. And this is an award that celebrates the contribution of healthcare professionals working to strengthen care in rural communities across Alberta. Dr. Steed, besides his excellent rural healthcare that he brings to our community, as well as his surgery, he's been a dedicated coach, volunteer with the Star Theatre and Tango Medical Mission, food bank, and so much more. So tonight he will receive his award from the Rural Health Professionals Action Plan. And we'd like to thank them for helping rural communities in Alberta obtain strong medical teams. So, and congratulations to Dr. Steed, who also is a resident of the MD of Tabor. And on a sporting note, County of 40 Mile, along with Foremost and Bow Island, is hosting the Summer Games, July 8 to 11. Our registration is open till June 11th. There's 32 sports that range from athletics to photography, and we encourage all MD residents to represent as you did last year and go cheer on County of 40 Mile Summer Games. And on a sadder note, the MD of Tabor extends its heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of former councillor Erling Oldland. Mr. Oldland proudly served as councillor of Division 7, the Vauxhall area, from 1961 to 64. During his time on council, he was known for a strong work ethic, practicality, and commitment to improving life for rural residents. So on behalf of the MD of Tabor Council and residents, we honor Mr. Erling Oldland's contribution to our municipality and thank him for his service. That was a lot, but all very important. Does anyone else have any announcements or recognitions they'd like to bring forward? Seeing none, then we'll go on to the May 12th, 2026 minutes.
I can give you a motion to accept the May 2nd, 2026 regular meeting of council minutes as circulated.
Okay, so Councillor Turcato moves the May 12th, 2026 regular meeting of council minutes. Any questions or comments? Those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, call for people to speak. I'm not seeing anyone other than our delegations in the audience. Is there anyone online asking to speak? Okay, thank you. Then we'll go right into delegations. Sergeant Stuart Gemmell from the RCMP detachment. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here to present the April 2026 stats for my detachment. Last month, we responded to 88 calls for service and 69 were within the MD of Tabor. We got one impaired driver last month. 11 criminal code violations were reported to us within the MD of Tabor, and it's 16 in total for the detachment area. We had 6 911 hangups in the MD of Tabor. We did 39 criminal records checks and 2 fingerprints for the general public. We made 8 patrols of Enchant, 19 patrols of Grassy Lake, and 6 patrols of Hayes for 33 Hamlet patrols. Made 3 patrols of the Enchant campground for a total of 76 patrols of the MD. We wrote 2 violation tickets last month, and traffic services wrote none. For 2 violation tickets written last month. Going down to the provincial crime gauge, persons crimes are down 26% compared to last year. Net property crimes down 19%. Other criminal codes seen 4 fewer instances. Break and enter saw 8 more instances. Theft of motor vehicle saw 8 fewer instances, and there's no change in theft under 5,000. Going down to my comments, we laid charges in 4 criminal investigations during the month of April. Property crime in April was as follows: 2 break and enters to oil lease sites, 1 fraud, and these investigations are still ongoing. There's 1 theft of a vehicle that resulted in charges being laid. And that's what's going on in my detachment. Are there any questions or concerns?
I was under my car doing an oil change, and apparently if you push certain buttons on your phone and hold them for a while. Anyway, so I was one of those 911 hang-ups. Sorry about that.
No, it happens. It happens. So,
It was nice to make the report, though, you know.
yeah, make contact. That's good.
Any other comments or questions for Sergeant Gemmell? We appreciate seeing your members out in our communities and on our roads. Your presence really makes a difference for residents' safety, and it looks like you've been pretty busy, so thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Someone to receive Sergeant Gemmell's RCMP report?
I'll do that.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Any questions? Those in favor? That motion is carried. Have a good day. All right, next we have the Enchant Historical Society, Mr. Dennis Orston. So please come up. Thank you for joining us.
First of all, I'd like to thank
To the mic. Yep, we'll just make sure. So then do you, should we introduce all of council, or do you know most of us?
I know a few faces.
Okay,
some I
let's
don't.
us do an introduction. It just takes a minute, so go ahead.
Very good.
Peters,
Peter, yeah.
I'm David Cook.
Sorry, I'm David Torrey, and I represent the Grassy Lake area, Division 3.
Thank you.
Martin Condor, Division 7, Vauxhall area.
You.
Tamara Mianega, Division 4, which is Tabor north to the Old Man River.
Good morning, Dennis. John Tricato, Division 2, which is south of Tabor.
Good morning, Lane Johnson, Division 1, west of Tabor.
Mary Reynolds, Division 6, engineering. Good to know you, Dennis. Good to see you.
Thanks, Mary.
And Mike Passy, acting CAO and our administrative team.
So the floor is yours. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you. I'm here on regards to it's a barbed wire fence that goes around an old cemetery northeast of Enchant. It's a fence that's in bad repair. We've looked after the cemetery for I don't know how many years. But it's to the point where we've been doing this, fighting with it to try and do something to. And I approached Right Way Fencing. And they said, well, you put up a good fence, put up a chain link fence, because the distance that we're covering there, it should last for years without no problem at all as far as upkeep. And they give us a quote of $17,589.40 at that time. And so I decided, well, let's see what happens if we can raise some money to get this done. We got a donation from the Vauxhall Legion of $5,000. They were closing their doors, and they said, well, we'll make you a donation of $5,000. So we got a donation from them for $5,000. And we got a donation from the MD for $5,000. But we were still short, that come up to $10,000. So we were still short $8,609.81. And with help from Bryce and the MD, we applied to different grants to see if we could get grants to finish this off. We didn't qualify for unknown reasons that didn't make sense to me, but I was the one looking for the money, so. But anyway, we come up to the fact that we're short that $8,689.81. We're prepared to do all of the removal of everything around there. We're removing the old fence, the old post, cleaning it all up. But we're still short that money. And I was wondering if we could get a little bit more from the MD to bring us over the hump. Because now we're committed to doing this, and the only reason it's committed is because if we're short, we'll have to come up ourselves with the difference to have this fence put in. And like I said, we've ran out of, with Bryce working with us very hard to try and get grants, we ran our course. We can't, we don't qualify. So that's why I'm here, to see if it's possible that we could get another little donation from the MD to bring us over the hump, so we can complete this. But it's going to be, not that it's not going to be completed, it's going to be completed no matter what, because we give them the down payment to hold the price. Because from the time that we ordered this to now, it's going up $1,000 already. And so that's what brings us up to the 18,000. And then I went and approached Right Way Fencing. Well, can we hold the price? And he said, sure, if you want to make a down payment, we'll hold the price for you guys. So then that's why we give them the down payment of $10,000. And the rest of it will be paid if we get a grant from the MD. If not, then we'll just have to come up with it ourselves so the job gets done. It needs to be done. It's an old cemetery, and I guess when I'm done looking after it, the MD will have to. and you know, it's a shame that we didn't get a grant, but being that we didn't get one, and this is where we're sitting at as of now. But I still thank the MD for what they've been doing for us so far. It's been a big help. With Bryce on our side, trying to do what we could do to get this done, eh?
Thank you. Councillor Reynolds?
Yes, I I commend you for looking after the cemetery, you and your wife, for umpteen years, and it's time for the next generation to step up and do something. But I know we've talked about this before, doesn't seem like it happens very fast. Just wondering, the money administration, the money they received already, was that this year or was that from last year?
So the history on the grant application was we applied to the an application was made to the securities program.
Oh no, it's okay.
I'm gonna have to come up. Yeah, I just made some notes on the grant application. So they made application to the security program. It's a Canadian program, so it's a federal program. So there was $52.50 that was committed by the MD of Taber, dependent on the grant funding. They weren't successful on that. So then a second round application went into the community foundations, and they weren't successful on that as well. And so we're at this point now where they received a $5,000 donation intended to go towards the project so that they could continue to look at other alternatives locally and, you know, other fundraising opportunities. And that's where the Legion came into play. So they're at this point now where they've exhausted the funding to date, I would say. So there might be opportunities in the future, but I think from the conversations the MD's had with Dennis is that they did want to try to pursue the project this year. And so that's kind of where he's at now. And so he's here, you know, just looking for the balance to try to move forward with it.
We started this back in 2024 when we made our first application in November. It took a year for them to send us a letter back to saying we didn't qualify. Well, if they'd opened the letter up and read it, they'd have seen that we didn't qualify within. So it has taken this long a period because of waiting for to find out. Because if we were to receive any money, then these grants would be nullified because we were taking money from on that grant. So then they would have, so we couldn't do anything with anything until we knew whether we qualified for that grant or not. So they held us up for a whole year, not knowing where we could go or what we could do. And then once we were not available on that grant, through Bryce's efforts, we applied for the second one, but we found out from them way quicker than we did with the other ones. So, but we were kind of always being held till we found out to make them little steps that you got to make along the way to get to where we're at today.
Sorry, just to clarify the answer, the question was with regards to funding, it was done in February of 2026.
So, on the information we have, but this must not take into account the increased price since the original bid was done by this fencing company. Because the stuff in front of us says you're looking for 7,700, but you're looking for 8,700.
Yes, that
Because
right.
of the price increase?
Because
Is
of
that-
the price increase, that $1,000
Yeah.
that went up. And when I approached Right Way Fencing, they said there's going to be another increase coming on right away. And I said, well, I want to avoid another increase if I could help it. And I just asked him, if I give you a down payment, would this hold the price for us? And he said, certainly, that you could just take your time. And I told him, when I approached him, I said, this is all on grant, so it might take a while. It's not like, well, yeah, I'm going to get you the grant tomorrow and come in and pay you. I told them that it would take, and they said, don't worry about it. We'll keep it on file, and they've been good and kept everything on file for us. We've got receipts for all the money that we paid them. We've got receipts from them to show that it's been paid. Eh?
Councillor Tory?
I'd say a question, is the Enchant Cemetery still active? Like, are still people being buried there, or is it?
Yes, not as much. It was back in, it was started in 1907. But there is the odd one still, for some reason, they want to get buried up there,
Right.
you know? So, no, it is still being used today. And some people ask, well, what is the charge to be buried there? And I said, well, we work on donation, because you pay to go to a cemetery, you get water, you get grass mowed, you get everything done. Up here, I do it, so what you see is what you get. So, you know, you can't charge somebody the same amount that you're going to charge them to go to a regular cemetery where everything is kept up. We keep it up, but Mother Nature looks after a lot of it too, eh?
So I used to be a part of the Grassy Lake Cemetery Association. Other people are doing it now, but do you have an association, or is it just the
No,
two? You don't?
no,
Okay.
no.
No association.
There was, the MD, we put a great big rock up there. We put a plaque on there. And there was at one time, but I mean, there used to be a big church down there at one time too, but,
Right.
you know, over the years and things have, so there is none. So that's why I've been working through the Enchant Historical Society, because I didn't want my hands on. I wanted to stay arm's length away from any money. You know
Right.
what I mean? So the first one we went through on the Legion one, we went through the Enchant Church, but now they have more or less don't operate no more. So now I approached the Historical Society. I used to be on the Historical Society, if we could use their name and to go through them. And that's why we're going through the Enchant Historical Society on this. And then the receipts were made out to the Enchant Historical Society that they had donated them, that they paid for the fence, eh? So it's all an arm length away from me. It's not like, because someone would say, well, where's the money going, or where's it? Well, we got receipts for it all.
Thanks for the presentation. No questions about the cemetery in Enchant, but I am wondering to administration, are there other cemeteries in the MD that volunteers are looking after, or that the MD may have some responsibility for, or funds in one way or another?
We do have an annual contribution that we make to the Enchant Cemetery. I don't know the name of the full name. I believe it's Enchant Cemetery Association. Yeah, that we make on an annual basis. That was actually just determined last year to be an annual contribution, and so that'll be through our donation program. The value I have to look up. I don't have exactly what that value is. I believe it was $2,000.
So is that the same cemetery that we're talking about, or is there two cemeteries in Enchant?
Well, there's two. There's the main one at Enchant, and this one is northeast of Enchant. It's up closer to Circley Grazing. And that's where that one was started years ago, and there was a church up there years ago, and they've kept it going.
1907 is when it was started. It was
So-
1907.
My question kind of follows Deputy Reeves. If all the cemetery volunteers decided that today was their last day, what responsibility does it have on the MD of Tabor for cemetery maintenance and care?
I don't know the Cemeteries Act, but I believe it would be our responsibility to take care of them fully.
So I did look that up, and it would be. And so, Mr. Orson, what I think will happen today is we'll receive your presentation, and then if someone's willing, we'll make a motion to determine how what you've done is highlighted another area of concern through the MD, that we've been very thankful for the volunteers, and they have done a tremendous job. I just saw some social media on Vauxhalls, and I know at Grassy Lake, same thing, they get together a work bee. So it may be time for the MD of Tabor to evaluate and look at how we're supporting. And maybe Bryce probably knows all the intricacies of the fencing application. We don't know that, but I don't want to make any promises today, but we will discuss and look at your request.
Thank you. That's all I ask for, is to have a look at it and see if there's any possibility that somehow or another that we could come to somehow getting a little bit of money to help out to finish this off and to get it done.
One last
Yeah,
question.
for sure.
Do you happen to have on that quote, well, how much is materials and how much is labor?
Yes, there's, well, the labor, I got the quote right here if you would like to.
Well, it's just, we do run a fencing crew and we've done
well,
some of that
to-
stuff. If the materials were
okay,
covered, we could maybe
okay.
get it built.
The fence alone is $8,779.52 is what the price of the fence is. And it's to supply and install, then it comes to $17,589.40. That's to the price to install and the labor.
Right.
But that's no labor taking the old stuff out. That's just labor of putting the new in is all.
But the materials are around that 8,000.
Yes, well, $8,792.52.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, council or administration? Yes, Martin.
Just to do math quickly. So then you have enough money to pay for the fence, so to store it, then we just gotta come up with the labor to put it in, correct? Cause I think you said 5,000 and then the MD gives you 5,000, it'd be 10. So you have enough to buy it. You just need money to put it in now. pretty
Well,
much.
more,
Yeah.
more or less. It's-
Yeah,
the
so that way
money-
the price won't go up on you for the buying it at least. So you can get it bought, the material bought, and then
Yes,
you won't be
yes,
declined there.
yes, and that's already been done, so
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think this fencing on this, at this cemetery would be a one-time thing and once and done. They won't need any more maintenance
No, right, Mary.
until you walk away and nobody else volunteers to
Well-
keep it mowed or whatever, then the MD will have to look after it.
Right. I left my lawnmower up there with a sign on it. Feel free to use it, you know, but nobody has used it yet.
There is some local people that have been buried there just in the last 3 years.
Yes, yes,
3 or 4 years that I know very dearly, so.
yes.
Okay, any other questions? We very much appreciate the
Thank
work
you.
that you and your wife have done, not only bringing this forward, but to maintain the cemetery. It is with great respect. We appreciate your volunteer efforts.
And I thank you very much for their time.
Yes.
Should I push my little red button?
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you, guys.
So I want to make a motion to have administration bring back information.
Yes, that would be perfect in your wording.
So we'll, to move to have administration bring back information on, in particular, the fencing of the, I don't know which cemetery it's called exactly.
Is it the Ivestad one? Is it the
Instead,
Ivestad?
Yeah,
Okay.
cemetery, and additional information on municipal cemeteries, just so that we all can be brought to speed. Somewhere in there, could you put the cost of 8,700? And Bryce, you probably know quite a bit about this already, so hopefully it doesn't create a lot of work. It's just, we need time to understand it as well.
And then was there some for overall looking at? Okay.
I think it's time for this council to get to speed on what our expectation is, regardless if we have volunteers doing it. There's a number of cemeteries throughout the municipality that are on the good graces of volunteers.
I think that'd be good to do two different motions.
Sure.
One motion that's extended
fine.
and that is related to this presentation and the fencing
Okay.
here, and then maybe another motion of.
Yeah,
related to
and
the-
because the other one probably isn't as time pressing, but I think we should definitely be addressing this one.
I'm just, as in that overall discussion, I mean, I know the little teeny Purple Springs cemetery is right on Highway 3 and it just has an old barbed wire fence. Like, it could be an interesting, like, are we gonna need to chain link all of them? That kind of,
Yeah, so that is actually why I want a motion to discuss cemeteries at some time. And I know administration is well aware that our cemeteries are run by volunteers. So I'd like to be able to have a look. And just like our recreation in the MD of Tabor, we're very grateful for our volunteers. But somewhere in the back of our mind, we always have to know life could change, whether it's recreation or cemeteries. And then what are we prepared or obligated to do?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, so Murray moves that the Enchant Historical Society presentation be accepted as presented, and that administration bring back information regarding the fencing of the Abastad Cemetery with an estimated outstanding cost of $8,700. Any questions on that motion? We'll call the vote. Those in favor? That motion is carried. And then if someone, the other one I would like more timely, this one I realize can be a little bit less, but still it's good to have it on the books. The next motion, please.
If there's, this is
Yeah,
something,
so
okay.
I think that's, the reason I like the placeholder is because we can't just let this go. So if someone's willing to make this motion,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be nice to know how many cemeteries?
That's what this will do. Yeah,
Okay, good enough.
go ahead, Dave.
Okay, I can move that administration provide information to council related to the provision of service related to cemeteries.
All right, any questions on that motion? I'll call the vote. Those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, we'll carry on with the agenda, but we will just leave the emergency health service till they get here. So we're going to move into the consent agenda, the CAO report.
The administration has provided their various reports on operations. If there's anything in particular that council has a question about, then we're happy to answer those questions or get more information if necessary.
Thank you. So council, at this time, I would take any questions on the CAO report. It's everything from social media to our spillway to road upgrades. Water. As always, I state it is a very comprehensive report, so most often our questions are answered within the report. I think it is worth noting that we have Grassy Lake on our new subdivision. We have deposits on 7 lots, so that's pretty exciting. And I heard on day 1 of the lots being publicly available, there was 5 within the first day. So that definitely highlights that there's a need. John?
On the CPKC crossing for the Horsefly Spillway that will take place this fall, I believe, after the water shut off. Has that gone out to tender yet? Or are they still working on design, or what's the progress there?
I'll see if Jack's got some information there. I believe there has been some significant movement on the plan for what is to occur there. I couldn't say whether it's been to tender or not. Are you aware, Corey? Yeah, I'm not sure if it's been tendered or not, but I believe it's getting close to tender based on some of the updates that we've got from CPKC and what they're willing to permit at that location.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no questions on the CAO report at this time, we'll continue on with council reports. I'll go with the order that they're listed. So I just wanted to highlight there is lots going on, and I thank everyone who's been coming out to some of the public events, and we appreciate the community's interest. Wanted to just touch base on the Rural Road Infrastructure Working Committee. So that is a committee comprised of administration and councils throughout the province, and I've been very fortunate that Corey has been there to provide expert information. They're getting close to having what they perceive as a guideline for municipalities on your road use agreements. So just watch for that coming. It won't come in the form of council. It'll just come to you generally to see if there's anything that would work for us. Now, we're positioned very uniquely than a lot of the municipalities. This was driven by industry, not by municipal government, but they invited municipalities to be here. So just want you to pay attention to that, and if you have any thoughts on it. And we have this upcoming week is very busy as far as public events. The Alberta Police Association, the 4-H show and sale is this Friday and Saturday, and Blizzard Days on Friday for the Health Foundation. So those are lots of public events that are going on. While we're in committee reports, I just wanted to also highlight that if your availability to serve on your committee is not working out, then please reach out and we can see if someone else can cover if there is no alternate. The housing committee that I sit on, you can't provide an alternate, but someone could be approved to go there and just gather information. So if you're having trouble getting to your committees, please let myself or administration know, and they can evaluate, you and them can evaluate whether you want to remain on that committee or whether you need to have someone fill in for a time. I've had a couple of different committees reach out to me and saying we haven't had full attendance, and they really count on you because of your expertise. So it's just a general comment. It's not pointed at anyone specific, but I just wanted to bring that forward. Excuse me. So other than that, my report is in writing. If you have any questions, otherwise we'll continue on to Deputy Reeve Johnson.
So the committees that I'm involved with, the Chamber of Commerce, I think everybody is aware that they have purchased the Bank of Montreal building and are going to be moving into that facility later in the summer here. Because they're moving out of their present location, the museum, which is another one that I'm on, anticipates being able to take the Chamber's office and incorporate it into the museum. The museum's been going through some challenges and struggles, but they're still a core group there that's interested in expanding the role of the museum in the community. If you know of anybody that's interested in becoming a member of the museum board, there's always an opportunity to serve on that organization. And then the other committee that I'm involved with is the Joint Economic Development Committee. We just had a meeting here last week. Things are continuing to progress there. There was certainly a lot of interest in the group that's going to be going to China. And there was also a report that was provided by the Canada Premier Food Corridor, and lots of discussion about what the future of that program is going to be, because their funding sources are drawing to a close at the end of September, I believe it is. So that's it for the ones that I'm involved with.
Thank you. Councillor Tricado.
Apologies for not submitting a written report. I guess some of the highlights for me. So the Regional Water Wastewater Assessment Initiative, the report has been completed now. It's now in the hands of 3 ministries. That's the Municipal Affairs, Environment and Protected Areas, as well as Transportation and Economic Corridors. So now we're waiting for one of those ministries to now, they're hoping that the next phase or phase next will be funded. And when that takes place, there will be future work to do in an implementation phase of the report. And so that one's been very, very good. It's working with multiple water commissions and coming up with plans for more, I guess, fair reporting and stuff like that. That's been very good. And then I also went to Toronto for the Canada's Produce Marketing Association conference in Toronto. Very good meeting. We had 9 targeted meetings with the group involved, which was the Town of Taber, MD of Taber, Canada's Premier Food Corridor, Alberta Agriculture and Irrigation, as well as Invest Alberta. And so that approach was very successful, and there's going to be more touch points with these organizations that we had the meetings with. Some of that will take place during Stampede and others will take place at a future time. So I'm sure we'll be working through these leads, at least staff will be for the near future for sure. And maybe as long as, a year or so from now, we might still see some contact there. Other than that, I have not much more to report. Thank you.
So, council, if you're willing, then we'll pause for the 9:40 delegation, just out of respect for their time. So welcome. So we'll just take a pause on our reports and we'll invite you to come to the mic. So,
Perfect, thank you.
yes, thank you for coming. So while you guys are getting set up, we'll do a quick introduction because some of us know you, but we're a new council for you as you are new to us. So thank you. So we'll start down at this end.
Peters, I represent Keys on the council here, Division 5. Hello, I'm David Torrey, Division 3, Grassy Lake area.
Martin Connor, Division 7, Vauxhall area.
Tamara Mianega, Division 4, which is Tabor north to the Old Man River.
Good morning. Good to see you again. John Trucado, Division 2, which is south of Tabor.
Lane Johnson, Division 1, west of Tabor.
Good morning, Murray Reynolds, Division 6, in area.
Excellent, good. Oh, sorry. Oh, hi. Mike Passy, Director of Corporate Services and Acting CAO, and our administrative team.
All right. Yeah, it's good to see you all again. So Aaron Thorderson and I'm now, so my title's changed. I'm now the Division Chief for Southland Central with Alta Paramedic Health. So it is a new organization, sort of the same organization.
And Lauren Calder, Operations Director for South Zone Alta Paramedic Services.
Just before you get in to your presentation, I just wanted to refresh council's memory. The Vauxhall service was volunteers. And then there was some changes and there was 2 volunteers who were trying to cover 24/7 the entire area. And so at times they were without ambulance service or emergency health services. So the MD of Tabor, with the lead of with the town of Vauxhall, made great efforts to meet with them. And at that time, it was AHS through the ambulance service. They weren't able to travel because of some budget restraints. We traveled to them. We had multiple meetings. And as that, it became a service that is now staffed. And I will let them speak to that. But they also made a commitment to us. They would give us updates. So I can't thank your team enough for recognizing the value of having a staffed emergency service in Vauxhall, and that it definitely highlighted a partnership between Vauxhall, MD of Tabor, and the province, and the need to make sure our residents were cared for.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. And it's a great introduction, and Vauxhall really is a success story for us in Alberta, where we did have a volunteer service that was really struggling. Times are very different today than they were 20 years ago, and it simply was not sustainable. So with the efforts of this council and the province, yeah, we were able to implement a full-time ambulance here in Vauxhall. And yeah, so we're here to basically give you an update on everything that's been happening since the last time we've been here. And we did submit a PowerPoint presentation. I think you have it up there on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So today we're going to quickly do a quick synopsis of EMS in Alberta and what's happening there. And then we will talk about Vauxhall and what's happening with EMS in your community. And then certainly open up the floor for any questions or dialogue. But as I present, and some of you know me, feel free to interrupt and we can have conversations as I talk you through these slides. And we can go ahead, we can jump ahead too. So you can go ahead again. Yeah, so this is just kind of where we're at provincially when we talk about response times, and the comparator here is back to November of 2022. So we take that 4-year look back, and we're looking at different types of responses at the 90th percentile. So deltas and echoes that you see on this chart, those are the highest acuity events. Bravo, Charlie, deltas and echoes include the highest acuity events, but they're the most call types, and then alpha omegas are just low acuity events. So Vauxhall would fall under the rural category. So you can see that we've continually managed to improve times in most categories. Now Delta and Echoes in the rural have improved, which is great. That's what we want to see. And then we're also actually doing a lot of work right now to slow down our responses, and it sounds counterintuitive, but to those low acuity events, we want to be able to hold those events till we have the appropriate resources available or multiple resources available, so we're not delaying ambulance response for those high acuity events. So we're purposefully trying to slow down our responses to low acuity events. And there's a lot of work that's happening right now, and there's some international best practice pieces that we're doing. We're actually going live today with a secondary triage in our dispatch center, where we're further vetting those low acuity calls and working with a physician and clinicians to determine how long can we hold them for. And again, that's very purposeful so that we ensure resource availability for those high acuity events. And we can go to the next slide. And now this really talks about you can just, it's the same information, but it's that response time summary for communities this should be greater than 3,000 and the metro and urban environments. None of those fit Vauxhall. Vauxhall's rural. So you can go to the next slide.
Looks like these ones have come through on PowerPoint somehow.
Sorry, I'm looking at my own computer, and yeah, you don't have a clean version of those. We'll update those, and you'll just see, slight improvements in our time over the past, I think this goes back, 4 years. You can keep going. I'm not sure what happened with your slides here. These did not come through very clean at all.
So you're aware, on the slide deck that council was provided in our agenda package, those graphs are there. Yeah,
Oh.
so we've seen them.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know what's happening here, but I'm like, no, I looked at those already, but
Okay, good.
just on the red alert ones, they're not here, but then the next one. So the
Okay.
2 red alerts aren't here, but then the other graphs are here.
And it really, and the red alerts, I mean, this is really focused on the metro areas, on Calgary and Edmonton. And the indicator here is just that we've been doing a lot of work to improve the system in the last 4 years and to be more responsive to community needs, with a lot of focus on Calgary and Edmonton, of course. But it is important to talk about Calgary and Edmonton because they do impact rural resources. When ambulances are stuck in hallways, or we don't have enough ambulances available to respond to events, that will draw in from the rural environment. So we always like to touch on those pieces. And I know I've talked to council about these pieces before. So we can keep going. Out of community responses, yeah, you'll see. So these are the number of out of community response. That means ambulances not from Calgary responding into Calgary and going to events. And just as a comparator, so 2023, we've seen 4,400, and those will be rural ambulances going into Calgary to do events. And we've cut that almost by half, and we continue to focus on making sure that metros are adequately resourced and that we're dealing with that volume probably a little bit differently than we have in the past. So we're not relying on rural resources.
John?
Yeah.
I just have a question on this slide, because 2024, it went from 1943, and then 25, it went up. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, just we've seen a spike in demand in the metros in 2025, and we did actually add resources as well in 2024. But it seems like, if you build it, they will come. So we add resources, and then our volume even goes up. We add resources to meet current demand, and then our volume exponentially grows. So we know that it's not sustainable to just keep adding ambulances to take care of that volume. We have to start dealing with those calls a little bit differently. And that's kind of the purpose of secondary triage. And there's a lot of modernization work that we're doing where we're looking at places like London, Wales, Australia, some international leaders in the world of emergency health services, and they're handling that volume differently, and that's what we are trying to do as well. So there's a lot of work underway provincially to kind of try and get these numbers back down. Yep. And again, these are just out of community responses to emergency events in Calgary, and just another representation. We'll see the same for Edmonton. Edmonton, we see a lot more volume there. You'll see the same thing where 2023 kind of went down in 2024 when we added those resources, and then right back to where it was almost in 2025. It's actually a strong indicator that just adding ambulances isn't actually the fix. And then we can just keep going to EMS in your community, and this is where we can talk a little bit about Vauxhall. So south and central zone, it's really a combined zone. I think I've talked about that before. I'm the division chief, so I'm responsible for that entire map that you see on the right-hand side of that slide. So it's almost everything from Leduc to the US border minus that Calgary metro area. We have two medical directors, Dr. Neal, who resides in Red Deer, and Dr. Orr, who's here in Lethbridge, and they help us with supporting our paramedics from a clinical perspective. And then my two directors, so Lauren Calder, who's with me here today, and then Chris, who's my central zone director in an interim capacity. And then for specifically for Vauxhall and for the MD of Taber, you're in our District 4 area, and that's where we have John Torrance, who's my intern manager based out of Medicine Hat. We're actually currently recruiting for a manager position for District 4, so that position is posted. I think it closes
Today. Yeah.
today. So at some point, maybe I'll be able to come down here and introduce a new local manager to you folks. And this is somebody that lives in the area and is really responsible for the day-to-day operational functions of those crews. So you can see, so here's your response times, just a quick graph. And this is for the highest acuity events, those Delta and Echo events, and those truly are the life-threatening events. You can see where we were in fiscal year 2023-24. It's kind of where it starts. And then you can see a massive improvement in our responses to those high acuity events over in a 2-year period. And that really speaks to the success of converting that volunteer ambulance into a permanent full-time ambulance.
So I'm just going to interrupt you for 1 second. So when I was reviewing these, I wondered if it was just proper to the Vauxhall boundary, or if it's to the MD that's served by that Vauxhall ambulance. And I'm okay either way, because I know you have to have data from something, but
yeah, so that's a great question, and I'm going to clarify that for you because I actually don't have the answer right in front of me. I kind of think it's probably for all events that ambulance is going to, and the reason I think that is, when we have less than 20 events in a fiscal year, we actually can't report, where the system doesn't, it's not enough data to report on a 50th and 90th percentile, and because we're actually reporting on, and I don't know if the community of Vauxhall would have more than 20 high acuity events.
If you can just let us know, but that would make sense to me.
I would follow up on that. I will follow up on that. And then on the next slide, like when we talk about the event volume in Vauxhall, I think these are likely just in the community of Vauxhall. I don't know if you know that offhand.
I agree with that, but
yeah.
can't say for certain.
Yeah.
You can check that out.
So response times in Vauxhall, yeah, so this would be just specifically to the community of Vauxhall. So on the top part of the graph, the 50th percentile and the 90th percentile, deltas and echo counts. So they are just above 20, and you'll see again 30 minutes to 29 minutes, 23, 24, 24, 25, and then we cut that time in half to under 15 minutes, which is well below actually the provincial benchmark for high acuity events in the rural environment. So we're doing well. We're doing well. From a call volume perspective, events are down, and I can't explain that. So, but that would be a good thing for your residents. So unit station community Vauxhall. So this is all the events that ambulance is going to. So 258 events, fiscal year 25, 26, and the vast majority of those are 911 events. They do get drawn in for the occasional interfacility transfers, and I believe that is out of Taber when we looked at that a little bit closer. And then you can see where they are transporting those 911 events to, those patients that require transport. For the most part, they're coming into Taber, but we do occasionally transport to Brooks and CRH there in Lethbridge. Our unit utilization data. So this is just an indicator of how busy the actual ambulance is, and just a comparator from last fiscal to this fiscal. So for this fiscal, you'll see that the ambulance is in service and available 89% of the time, which is really high, but that's what we would expect with a Core Flex ambulance. And it's Core Flex means that they are a 24-hour shift consisting of assembled hours where they're together and they're partnered together, but then there's also on-call hours when they can go out in the community and be on their own. They don't have to be with their partner. They just have to be within 10 minutes of the base. So you'll see they're available 89% of the time. And then, yeah, we do have them out of service on events 5% of the time, out of service 3% of the time, and that would be for multiple reasons. And the moving time that would be time when they're returning to base from other communities or after completing an interfacility transfer. So of the total events in Vauxhall that last year, this fiscal year that just ended April 1st, 65 events occurred in Vauxhall, and the Vauxhall ambulance handled 54 of those. That is really good. That's exactly what we want to see. But of course, there's going to be times when that ambulance is out of service, or it's on another event, or it's on an interfacility transfer, and then that's when we see other ambulances coming into that community to support those residents. So Taber 17 times, Medicine Hat a couple of times, and then Boyle and Brooks and Lethbridge each one. But the vast majority are being handled by Vauxhall. And then you can see where the Vauxhall ambulance is going and all the different areas that ambulance is supporting. 22% of the time of its volume comes out of Vauxhall itself, 20% out of the community of Taber, the town of Taber, and then 17% out of the MD of Taber. I'm just a little bit surprised how often they're going to Brooks, and I might actually look at that. But this would be very typical of a rural ambulance. It does seem like they're going to Brooks quite a bit. So how far is Brooks? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Depending on where the event is, yeah. Brooks could be closer. Yeah. So our shift fulfillment it's less than what we would want it to be. We would want to see 90% or higher on this graph, and this is the number. So if you do the inverse of this, it would be 16% of the time we're not able to staff both of those seats on that ambulance, so that ambulance is going to be out of service. We'd like to see this up by 90. All of the shifts in Vauxhall are filled. We don't have any vacancies. We do have one member do have two of them out of the 4 on leave of absences. One's going to school and one's on a medical leave of absence. We have the positions filled with temporary employees, but we still have short notice book offs, sick calls, trying to cover vacation, stat time, those different pieces. We've just introduced a rural capacity investment fund across the province, which is specific for the north, south, and central zones, where we're actually offering substantial recruitment incentives for paramedics to come to the rural environment and work. And we're offering those incentives for both permanent positions and temporary positions. For a permanent position, it's up to $60,000 if you sign on with a commitment to stay for 4 years in a rural community. So that's big news for us, and it's really hot off the press. We're just rolling that out right now. So that will help us make sure that we have all of our vacancies filled, not just in Vauxhall, but in Tabor and all the surrounding communities and all in rural Alberta. So it's a really big win. And as I said, it's also for temporary positions, which is good as well, because we do have employees that go to school and they're on leaves, and those temporary positions can be really hard to fill. And just a graph so you can see the shift fulfillment. The numbers are going up, which is great, and that's what we want to see. Ideally, we'd like to see that at 100%. I don't know that that's realistic, but we certainly should be able to get into the plus 90s. And that's it, and the floor is yours.
Okay, any questions from council? John?
Just have a comment. I think the reason for the success here is because of you guys' team in the province, listening to Vauxhall and the MD of Tabor on the need for it. And as the numbers show, it was definitely a needed service. And I think you, at the time AHS, now EHS, understands the importance of having a service there. And it shows in the numbers. And so I appreciate the work you guys have done on this and keeping us apprised of how things are going. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Bernie, go ahead.
Yeah, just a off-topic question. How
Yeah.
are you making out with housing in Vauxhall?
Yeah, so that's taken way longer than I would have hoped. It's not something that Lauren and I have direct control of. We're really looking after the operations. We're operations. We do have facility folks. I think so. And Lauren, you can help me out here a little bit. Like we're trying to get a trailer residence to be able to put on right beside the fire hall for our staff to be able to reside in there. And it's meant to be a residence. We'll still continue to have offices, I think, in the hall.
That's correct.
And the ambulance parked in the hall. But I don't know there's been so much change with the organization right now and so many moving parts. And I just have to believe that that's why that this keeps getting kind of like, it's like the ball gets fumbled. But we've done renovations to the hall, to the spaces where our crews occupy. And I think we have good space for them, but it's not ideal. We need to get this figured out. And I don't know if you have an update on a timeline.
No, I don't. One thing I would say though is we have an incredible cooperative relationship with EMD Fire Department as well. That's of course we're cohabiting with. So that's been extremely helpful too. And I can't say enough about that in that relationship. So I just want to add that in there too. Really appreciate it.
Oh, good, thank you.
That's
And
excellent.
another thing too, when you're going through the slides, you added more ambulances to the service, but the numbers weren't changing much.
Yeah.
I still say, I think I've said it before, is the admitting in the hospital, because your machines are sitting in the parking lot until then people get admitted and they can't leave, because my wife was transferred from Lethbridge to Calgary, and it was like 2.5 hours or whatever. And that was like 2 years ago now, but so them things aren't changing very fast, but I'm sure there's small changes along the way. But
Yeah, there are, and we have a 45-minute target to get out of the hospital. We're not achieving that very often, but that is our provincial target where we're trying to get to. We're doing better than we ever did, and I don't know the metros as well, but I'm responsible for Red Deer. 3 years ago, ambulances on average were waiting in Red Deer for 4 hours before they could get back onto the street. Today, that's 90 minutes. So, which is it's not 45 yet. We still have work to do, but it's way better than it was. But that's a whole system thing in the province relative to not enough beds, admitted patients holding beds in the emergency department because there's not enough continuing care. Well, like it's such a quagmire. And it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort to get out of that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, it does impact our ability to get out there and provide service.
good, thank you.
And my final comment is that what else I have really observed is that your staff are taking part in Vauxhall High School events, not just career days, but I see them at a volleyball game or they were at Winterfest, and I've been in a restaurant and they come in. So they really are working to be part of the community, and I have great respect for that, especially when we know their living accommodations are quite temporary. This still is that integration is really important, and it lets people know that this is another career opportunity.
I love that.
So
Yeah, that's
thank you.
wonderful to hear. We really tried to swing that pendulum and to get in front of the community and become part of the community again. And AHS did a lot of good things in this province, but we kind of withdrew from our community partnerships. Our ability to communicate with council and those was hampered. We're in a really good place now, and we're continuing to grow and evolve and learn from our mistakes of the past. But I love hearing that. That's fantastic. That's what we want.
Okay, council or administration, do you have any other questions? We appreciate you taking the time to come and give us an update. We hope that will continue. And if you need things from us, I have no doubt the Vauxhall Fire Department, they're just exemplary people
Wonderful.
there.
Mhm.
So I'm sure they will continue, but if there's areas of concern, because it helps our residents out, if you need something, please reach out to us.
Absolutely. Appreciate that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
So a motion to receive the Emergency Health Services report. That was by Deputy Reeve Johnson. Any questions? Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you again for taking the time.
for having us.
Okay, we'll continue on with council reports, moving next to Councillor Reynolds.
Yeah, I didn't have too many meetings. Taber Police Commission last week. Vauxhall Regional Water, we had a meeting and then tour of the Vauxhall plant. And I have a TFS meeting this Thursday. It was supposed to be last Thursday, but luckily I didn't get an agenda sent to me, so I texted the chairman as though I couldn't make it tonight, so it's next week. So I guess I always have to keep texting him to know what's going on. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tory.
Okay, a lot of the main regular meetings, MPC and the Ag Service Board, regional drainage, definitely continuing to engage with the County of 40 Mile on that. Highway 3, Regional Water Service. The two that I wanted to kind of highlight was on May 5th, they had the Red Dress Memorial event with the Eagle Feather group right here in the park, right here in front of the grandstand. And we had a nice big group. The Red Dress Day each year is to remember the many missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And they had red dresses hung all in the trees here in the park. And it was definitely a sobering event, but they had a young lady come and do a speech, a presentation. She did a beautiful job. And then they had a group of young drummers and dancers and singers, young, like teenage boys, and they did an amazing job. And you could tell they were having a lot of fun. It was just really fun to kind of be there and experience them enjoying their heritage. And some of them have even been in movies. They're very, very good. They're a very high quality group, and it was a great experience to be there and to be with them. So they're just such an important part of our community. That was nice. The other thing is Highway 3 twinning. I keep getting questions about this, so I thought maybe since we're on online, just update a little bit. A lot of people are wondering why they haven't opened sections of the highway that are already paved, and those sections of the highway are not finished. There's still another whole layer of pavement that's got to go on the whole stretch. And so a lot of people are like, why don't they just paint the lines and open it up halfway or whatever? And the plan is to do the base all the way through, and then start at one end and do the top coat all the way through. And so there really won't be any sections of the highway open until the end. It's going to be a one and done at the end. And it's quite a process, obviously, at the end to add all the lines and all just the little details of all the approaches. And it's just massive, the amount of work going along and grinding or however they do all of those little rumble strips. There's just a lot of details that come way after the paving. And so the goal is to be done by the end of September and open the whole thing up. But they are actively paving. The trucks are going steady, steady, steady. So there's a lot of progress being made, but there won't be any sections that open up ahead of time.
Any other questions for Councillor Tory? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Notice that they're now, Alberta Transportation is now working on the east access to Grassy Lake. I see some of the earthworks being done. That's exciting to see in your area, because that's been a real concern that it was kind of missed in the initial design. So very good that Alberta Transportation listened to us and the community, and we've got that rectified. So that was really good to see.
And it should be noted that at the AGM, Councillor Tory was elected to the executive, so that is good to be part of that board. Appreciate that effort. Okay.
Here, I'll remember to turn my mic on. So I was with Murray, Councillor Reynolds, at the Water Commission meeting in Vauxhall. Attended that too. And also on the 20th, I was at online on a SACA meeting. So that's the first one I've been able to make it to. So I enjoyed that. I appreciated that. And right after that, then Tamara and I were at Tabor Special Needs at their staff appreciation barbecue. And I enjoyed that too. I'm getting to know people, which I really appreciate. Now, for tomorrow, the 27th, I've got two meetings at the same time. One is Tabor Adult Learning, and the other one is Handy Bus. Now, the Handy Bus got moved from the previous Wednesday to this Wednesday because one person couldn't make it, and the other one had a golf tournament that he figured was more important. So if somebody wants to go to the Tabor Handy Bus meeting tomorrow afternoon at my place, they can. I just figured I hadn't been to adult learning for a while, so I thought I would go there.
That sounds good. So we can connect at lunchtime and see if we can get that covered off.
Okay.
Thank you for your report. Councillor Condor.
I went to the Ag Society the other day, and their building's come along really nice. Got some flooring more done, just waiting for a few more appliances. And they're gonna set for a soft opening soon. The building's looking nice. And then their grand opening is gonna be in July. I think we're shooting for side of the meeting here in June. But yeah, they got a bunch of rodeos coming up there. July 1st, committee was there arranging for the Derby. It's coming along good. I got everything kind of arranged for that, and it's coming along good. And one committee I'm on that I probably missed it because I'm not great at computers, but the festival committee, I'm assuming they had a meeting by now, but I haven't been to any. But if somebody could fill me in when they are or when the next one is, then I can get on board with that.
So administration, if you just want to make a note, and we can reach out to the Pheasant Festival people to make sure they have the right email or when the next meeting is. On the July 1st Canada Day, our council has often been the ones flipping pancakes. Are they looking for that again? I got the general invitation, but they probably want some workers.
Oh, they'll take all they can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually it's an invite for that, but it's just kind of a generic one I see on the Canada Day one.
Right. It wasn't asking us to specifically come, so I'm happy to go and flip pancakes and cut watermelon, whatever they need is what we did the last, I don't know, 8 years. And then some of us go back to Tabor and then come back to Vauxhall. But yeah, so if there's people who are going to be in the parade or not, we just want to make sure we get the logistics of either candy and the vehicle. The staff's usually done that.
Yeah, we got a meeting in June, so I'll make sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
So we do have a vehicle for the MDF Tabor that goes.
So we usually have taken the one that's been wrapped. And so we try to have a driver and then someone to hand out candy because the parades have gotten away from throwing it at people so no one gets run over. So usually we just do that and we try to, cover off the parades that we've gone to. We don't have a policy, but we've done Vauxhall, Tabor, and Barnwell because you could go to parades everywhere. We'll get those invites, but at this point, that's what our council has decided, just the ones that are within our area. But if someone's really parade willing, they'll take you in Lethbridge, Coaldale, wherever you want.
So you're saying we have somebody walk along and hand out candy instead of just,
Yeah, it's usually us.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we usually find someone who'll be willing to drive and then somebody, and sometimes we've been really gracious to have some of our MD staff and their families help us. So just try to figure it out between all of us so that at least in our regional parades, we're represented. Marie?
Yeah, I think Vauxhall's still old school. We still throw it out the window.
Oh, there you go. They're tougher than the other places. But yeah, so anyways, just to keep that in mind, those dates, Barnwell's is mid-July, Tabor's is in alignment with Cornfest, and then we know Vauxhall is July 1st. Okay, any other questions or comments on the council reports or the CAO reports? Seeing none, we'll continue with the consent agenda. The letter from the Honorable Jason Nixon, the Minister of Assisted Living and Social Services. He is no longer the minister, but he is a Minister of Treasury and Finance. But this just acknowledged our letter that we provided to Tabor and District Housing. And then the next two, one from Leah Tillman and one from Chloe Braslins. These are thank you notes for our support of the clinic that we sponsored for agriculture and showing animals. And I really appreciate these young people's willingness to take the time to send a thank you note. We knew it would be a good project based on council knowledge and awareness as well as their report, but it does really speak to seeing the young people who took part. All right, any other questions on correspondence? I don't think we have anything that needs to come out of the consent agenda. So with that, I would look for a motion to receive the consent agenda.
I can move to receive the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Peters. I'll call the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. All right. We'll go into upcoming meetings and events. After that's over, then we'll take a minute for a break, but we'll do upcoming meetings and events first.
I think usually Lace kind of gives them a rundown of what might be new on here and added here and where things are. Unfortunately, I don't think we're as in tune on the schedule side of things. So I encourage you to look at that. Just make sure you're aware of things. Or if there's something that looks new, then to ask about it. And if I have some information, I'll share it. But if not, then we'll fire off an email to Lace or something like that.
Yeah, Lace always keeps us pretty updated. Martin's going to find out more information for the town of Vauxhall. Then the farmers market opportunity invitation. I guess when I looked at that, it sounded like maybe MD Regional Fire might choose to optimize one of their volunteer tables, or if MD wanted to promote something, we could do that. Probably the biggest one is the Aurora Prairie Power Solar Farm groundbreaking ceremony. Now, we do have a meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs that morning, but for those of you who would like to attend the groundbreaking, they have asked the MD to provide some brief remarks, so we'll do that, and our staff will have us, will also be present. And then if you want to go out, you can travel out to the site. So it's quite an interesting itinerary. Lace did email us a detailed version, and I have a meeting in the afternoon, so I won't be going to the site, but hopefully someone can take part. Again, those are just sort of general invites, but they do appreciate council being present. And the other items, I think you can see all of those. I'm also As far as community events, the Church of Latter-day Saints has invited me to attend on Sunday for their meeting, so I will be going to that. And there's way too many things going on for me to attend the safety day. But if you have any interest and you're even driving through, you can just stop by and have a look. They do provide lunch. So, visit with our staff. It's not that we have to give any remarks or anything, but if you want to be involved. And yeah, the biggest one I want to, that meeting with Minister of Municipal Affairs is at 9:30 virtual. Right, Mike? I'm pretty sure that's what that invite from Minister Williams.
Yes,
is.
it got moved again
And
to
I just-
9:30.
I just wanted to make a comment on that. I got a board meeting all day that day, so
Okay,
otherwise I would definitely be there. But I
yeah,
figured there's enough of you guys.
okay. Yeah, or sometimes on a meeting like this, if you want to step out of a board meeting to join, it's totally up to you. This is probably, I would say, one of our most important meetings that we'll have, but we can just sort of see. And then FCM conference, Councillor Tory, Councillor Peters, and Councillor Turcato are going. I would encourage you, while you're at that conference, to kind of have a look at the agenda and divide up to gather as much information as you can. We'll leave it up to the three of you because there's lots of sessions, but no sense having everyone at the same ones the whole time. There is resolutions, so you might want to have a look at those because you will be able to vote, and that's an important part of it. I looked them over. I didn't see anything too controversial, but it's always surprising what happens there. But it'll be a great opportunity, and the Premier will be there as well as many federal ministers, so a good chance to build some connections. Okay, that's a lot of talking that I've done on that, but it's important that we are represented. So I will ask for a motion to receive the upcoming meetings and
I
events.
can give you a motion to receive the upcoming meetings and events for
Okay.
information.
I'll call the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, let's take 5 minutes and then we'll start on the Hamlet utility review. Okay, great. We'll return to the agenda. We left off at Hamlet's utility review.
This is a follow-up to some motions made in the last, some in the past meetings related to base water rate being adjusted from 15 cubic meters to 21 cubic meters. Some preliminary analysis of this would result in making this change. There's questions around how this would affect revenue, making a change immediately. And it would mean revenue falling short by, depending on a various range over the year, between $6,600 and $14,000. And then any changes needing to be made to adjust that rate would require 3 readings of an amendment to the 2026 fees and rates bylaw. So just wanted to bring that information back so that council is aware of that. The position of administration would be to look into this as part of the 2027 utilities rates and review, utility rates review, and then bring that that bylaw back for the 2027 utility rates. Sorry, the 2027 fees and rates bylaw at that time, and allow for a more comprehensive look at how the utility rates are administered. No motion is needed at this point. The motion that stands on the books is that that the utility rates were to be looked at for the 2027 budget. That was the motion made at the April 14th meeting. So there's no motion needed unless council wishes to change that direction given to administration.
Councillor Troy.
Well, it would certainly be nice to be able to move forward more quickly, but obviously I'm new to all of this, so.
Is the rate, is the loss in revenue from all 3 hamlets or strictly Grassy Lake?
This would be across all hamlets.
Mhm. Yeah, go ahead.
We might have asked this last
And
time,
then-
but so if we do this, I don't know if it's a policy or if it's just a recommendation that we have full operational cost recovery by our water users. So would that mean then we would have to find another way to achieve that, or would we then be missing that?
I don't believe it's set in policy. It's more just a practice that's been used over the last number of years. And so if this change were to be made right now, then it would just fall short, and the revenues across the revenues in those areas would just not be met. And that happens across the organization, where we set a budget for a revenue and maybe we don't reach it, maybe we exceed it. Same with expenses. Sometimes an expense is exceeded and it's overspent in a certain budget line, but others are underspent. So the net effect would, you'd take the net effect of a lot of different areas of the budget to determine what the end of the year surplus or deficit looks like. I have not, in all my years at municipalities, I've not had a deficit run on the organization as a whole. But this would affect there's a small number of accounts that this would affect, because the number of accounts that are between that 15 and 20 amount are fewer than the rest of the accounts within those hamlets. And so again, it depends on what excuse me what this summer looks like. Is it a hot, dry summer, or is it a summer like last one where there's quite a bit of moisture? And so it can vary on what that looks like as well. So people are, I think in Grassy Lake in particular, it is maybe 15 to 20 accounts that this would affect. The other ones were already under 15 and were under the 15 all year long. There's a number of accounts that are over the 21 amount all year long as well. So it would affect a certain number that are just within that range, just using a little bit more than what the allotment is, and not affecting those who are consistently going over that amount throughout the year. So that's the same for all the hamlets. There's a number. It's a small number that are within that threshold between 15 and between 21. And it depends on their usage then, how much they end up using.
I think some of these hamlets too, the size of the lots are different too, so that could be where we come into more water usage for a bigger lot. Cause I know in Enchant, there's a few bigger lots and a lot more that are just the normal sized lots, and I think some of the ones in Grassy Lake, I believe, are the same there too, so.
Yeah, I'm just curious from the other hamlet, like, do you get these same complaints? Cause it's like every time I meet with these people, they're upset about it, but I just didn't know if that's different in the other hamlets.
Yeah, the ones that are complaining, the ones that got the bigger lots, and the ones that are, well, if we had raw water, well, there's a cost for that too, so.
So I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine that lives in Hayes. Average size lot. He lives in a small trailer by himself. He uses 3 cubes of water a month just for one person. He does not, as a rule, irrigate his lawn because he says he doesn't want to use the water for whatever reason. But he says if I do irrigate my lawn, it takes 6 cubes of water, which works out to $16.50 at $2.75. So I don't see why people are complaining, you know, like, I mean, I get it that, hey, it should do, but if you want a green lot, yeah, you're going to pay for it.
I think a lot of people, when they look at the bills, they forget about the biggest cost is, yeah, the water is cheap. It's a lot of money to get it to your house. The infrastructure to get it to your house, to run the plant, that's all there no matter what. So when you look at your water bill, it's like, oh, it's only this many dollars to buy your water. The water's the cheap part. It's to get it to your house, to deliver your house, to maintain it. And we have to cover that cost because everybody uses it. So I'm a firm believer in water, but we can't make it so expensive that everybody's lot looks ugly either. But so we got to, I don't know how you share it to get the cost so everybody can have a green lot because we don't need to see barren lots. But that's a simple one where if you use it, you pay.
Yeah, and again, this isn't really what I'm looking for. I was looking for an analysis.
Right.
And when I hear that there's 15 to 20 households who are over, I guess I wonder, is their lot big? Do they have 10 people who live there? Like all those things. At some point, and I realize it says that, we need to have a deep analysis. So one, if that question continues to persist, we can address it to them. But as far as an expensive water bill, if it's 15 to 20 households across all 3 hamlets, that's not that many. But yeah.
Just to be clear, it was 15 to 20 households in Grassy Lake.
Okay, thank you.
There are more than that is sort of affected. That was the Grassy Lake amount.
Okay. So it won't address the problem for this year, is what I'm reading, but that you're still willing to do a further analysis to determine if we're billing the correct way to optimize water.
It could affect this year with a bylaw amendment if that was the will of council. That could be done still. There would just be a shortfall of revenue.
Right.
To this, and it's a range because again, we don't know how much people are going to use it. It's using it based off of an estimate of using the 2025 figures because that's what we have actuals of. But yes, for 2027, the plan would be to bring back a more comprehensive one to look at the costs of running the water and seeing if we are truly meeting our operational costs or not. There's also been some organizational shifting of having the hamlet operators locally, and that would shift how we account for it as well, because they are in the hamlets taking care of the water provision versus the water commission side, the water plants, and separating that out as well to make sure that the commission sides are being collected through the service done to the commissions, and then the provision of the water within the hamlets, making sure that's on the operating side of the provision of water to residents. And so there's a split that needs to happen on that side. And that's what complicates making this analysis happen right now and right away. There's a lot of moving parts to this with the commissions as part of it, and how they have been so integrated into the MD operations over the last 15 years. And so that is my goal in this next budget cycle, is to determine what the actual operating costs are, as well as having an understanding of what the capital costs are, at least the amortization levels, because I don't believe we are even looking at capturing those costs. And so I want to be able to say, this is if we're reaching our operating levels at here, this is if we want to capture our capital costs as well. They would also need to potentially need to increase the rates by this much to capture the capital side of it as well. And so we don't have a very good idea of where that sits.
Martin?
I would get hung up on the water part. Is there a way to do it? Because everybody says, well, I don't use very much water, so I should pay less. Is there a way to bill it out that says, this is our cost? Because in Vauxhall, the MD just sent us a bill and we just split it amongst, it was pretty easy. We knew exactly what our cost was when I was on council in Vauxhall. This is what you're buying for water. So it was easy for us. We just said, this is what your water costs. Is there a way to get it? Because everybody doesn't understand the majority of cost the water isn't the expensive part, to bill it a couple different ways, to say, this is what it costs to run our plant and this and this. So this part of the bill is to run the plant and this little bit is the water you're buying, to make it clear to people. Because right now a lot of people are confused saying, I use less water, so I should pay less. Well, it still costs a lot of money to get it to your house. Just because you don't use water, it costs a lot of money to get it to your house.
I would explore that presentation of it in that way, to say, fixed costs versus the consumption costs. But right now they're just mixed. And so that would be that's one of the things I'm looking at, or want to look at, to say, okay, is the consumption costs covering the fixed rate costs? And if so, I think that's where the 15 cubes comes in, is we assume people are going to use a certain amount of water because of the necessity of having water. People are going to use it. How much of that should be included in fixed rates costs, because we know they're going to use X amount of cubes. And I think that's when this model was implemented, was assuming that everyone's going to use water. What number do we choose to include that in, to have that as the consumption rate versus the fixed rate amount? And so there's different ways of doing it. You could, some places you could say, no, we're going to fund all water through taxation, and we don't send out utility bills. That is one extreme of the models. But then there's the facilities that don't pay taxes, so they don't pay for water then, right? So then it moves to this utility model of trying to be cost recovery through the bills. But then it's knowing what is the right amount to include on that, and how do you set that up? And so that's one of the things we want to look into, is to say, should it be, here's all our fixed costs, ABC 1, 2, 3, and here's what the variable costs are, depending on if we're treating it in a certain way or not, and based on consumption. And so those costs are only related to the variable rate and the consumption rate. And so maybe the water rate decreases significantly because most of the costs are fixed costs, and everyone pays those fixed costs to have that facility, to have the opportunity to have a water connection to their property. That is the bulk of the cost. And so do we increase the fixed rate cost and decrease the variable rate, and everyone pays, you use 1 cube, you pay for 1 cube, you use 10 cubes, you pay for 10 cubes. It's depending on what that range looks like, to determine where that is. And at whenever this model was set in, it was set by whoever to say 15 cubes seems like a reasonable amount that people will use and will consistently use overall. And that's what's going to be included in that fixed rate amount. Anything over that will be charged at an additional rate. And so it's every municipality is going to have a different way of choosing how to set this. And this is the model that was chosen a number of years ago. It doesn't mean it can't be changed. It absolutely can be changed. It just, we need to get that information.
I think when I first got on council, each hamlet was paying a different rate. And I think ratepayers were subsidizing some of that. So now we moved it up to user pay, and now it's, so like I say, some of the bigger lots are probably using more than what other ones are, and that's the difference in price. Why you got some that are over, I believe.
It's simple. I hate my power bill, but they explain it out great to me. Like the delivery charge is a nightmare to get it there, but I understand they got to get it to my house. The amount of power I use is next to nothing. Water is kind of the same way. Costs a lot to get it there. If we could break it out to people like that, I think they'd understand better what it costs to get it to your place and share that equally. And then the water you use somehow.
And I think if that is the case, like, once we see all the numbers, then it's easier for those that have, if the variable cost or the cost of the additional water is actually not that bad on us, meaning as the MD, then we make it affordable for them to use as much water as they want. They have to pay for it, but if we can see that, then people that do want, and we do want our communities to be beautiful. We do want them to have trees that actually grow and things like that. If we can understand that, what that actual cost is, then they can make the choice whether they want to buy more water and do that. But if it really isn't a whole bunch of added cost to the MD, if they use more water, it'd be nice to make it, that part of it, more affordable for them. It would make a lot of people happy, and anyway, these hamlets provide a lot of the labor for some of the ugliest, hardest jobs that we do in this community. And so it would be nice to at least not have them every month feel like, anyway, you've heard me lots of times, but I appreciate the experience because I just have very little. And so I appreciate everybody's comments.
So Ernie's example, so if you're charged, so if the base rate is 15 cubic meters, that's what you pay. And you pay, I think it was $98. I can't remember what it was. $73. So if you're only using 3, you're actually subsidizing the guy that uses 15.
Well,
So,
unless
and
you,
then, right? And so maybe we could look at a model where you pay for every cubic meter. So we don't do a fixed or a designated amount. I think that's how Bow Island does theirs. And just maybe when we do that analysis, have a breakdown or something showing what that would look like on each water bill and how we would achieve our full cost, operational cost recovery. Because we're also probably going to be hit with something where the province might be asking us to cover some of the replacement costs in our budgets as well for water. So that's going to add another level of complexity and cost that we don't currently have. So I think having all the options, this could be a committee of the whole discussion all on its own.
yeah, I just think I'm just starting to try to understand some of this, but even a home that doesn't, like this fellow that uses only 3 cubes, but let's say a home is vacant for a while and they're not using any water, there's still the infrastructure to that property. And so if they decide to sell that property, water is available to that property, and we've provided that. And so there is a fixed part that even if you're not using very much, like you're saying, it's available, and the next occupant will use it, or you might next summer use more, you have a child. So there is a fixed cost. It would just be nice to understand the real cost to us as an MD, to if somebody just waters their lawn a little bit more, if it isn't costing us a whole bunch more, we should probably even be promoting that. If it makes our plant more to capacity and more efficient, if it's hurting us, we need to know that too, right? But if making our communities more beautiful is not going to cost the MD more money, I think we should make that possible. People want it, and it makes our whole area look nicer. I love going into communities that are green. My mom has a plot in Grassy Lake Cemetery, but she wants to be buried in Tabor because she, even dead in her casket, she imagines it'll be nicer if there's green grass around her. There's a lot of people that value that, and she desperately she overwaters her lawn all the time. And it's because she likes things to be green. And when you live in such a dry area, that's kind of part of the psyche.
That's the with the water. If you use less, the guy using more actually is subsidizing you because the fixed cost is there. So like that guy, if you only use $15, it doesn't cost us any more to make that water. It's already treated. It's already there. Everything's already there. So if you use less and the guy that uses more, he's subsidizing. It's actually reverse subsidy because all the costs. So the guy that doesn't use any, if we only bill him on the water he uses, he's not paying for any of the infrastructure to get it to him, to run the plant, to do that. If you use absolutely no water, it's still delivered to your house. The guy that's using more is actually subsidizing you because he's using all the water. So at some point it crosses, if you use none, you're getting subsidized because you're not paying for the pipe, you're not paying for the plant to get it to you, you're not paying for anything if you don't use any water. So I think everybody should pay for that part. And then we can base it on the water, but we can't, like, if you use less water and the guy uses more water, the guy using more water is actually subsidizing you because he's taking more from the plant and he's paying for more. Yeah.
Lane.
Lots of good discussion. Either way, I think that this is not something that we're going to be able to do today. And it needs to just be referred to our 2027 budget.
Yeah, so if I heard Mike correctly, we don't need a motion, but Mike, know that it's not going away. We're still gonna ask, at least we have to see the analysis so that we can make better decisions. Okay, so we can just carry on. Now, this is the RMA draft resolution for provincial funding of food banks and community gardens. Lace, I believe, built this resolution at a request of council.
Yeah, this came from a motion previously from council about providing some information for the Foothills Little Bow meeting to take this as a resolution to move forward to RMA. And so Lace has put together some of these documents. This is the draft resolution here, providing the preamble related to information that was oops, and let's go back to and then the operative clause, and then the background related to food banks and the food insecurity and whatnot, with some references there as well.
John, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I think it's very well done what administration's done here in drawing this all together. I think this resolution is important to, the province currently doesn't contribute anything to food banks or community gardens. And so what's happening is some of these food banks that also have community gardens are having to take money out of operations to then put the garden in. And so cash is king when it comes to a food bank because they get enough donations of some things, but there's some stuff they have to buy. And so as soon as you take some of that cash away, they really struggle. And so I think asking the province to contribute some type of base funding for operational costs and putting the gardens in would be a really good thing to promote. And I think it's very well done, this resolution. I give you the motion that the MD of Tabor forward for consideration the attached resolution regarding provincial funding for food banks and community gardens to the September 2026 Foothills Little Bow Municipal Association meeting as part of its resolution session.
Any comments or questions on the prepared resolution? Seeing none, I will ask for the vote. Those in favor? That motion is carried. And great kudos to admin for the research that was done on this. Okay, next on the agenda is the donation and letters of support. We have requests for 2 donations and then a letter of support. So we'll just go through these individually.
I can move.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you want me to do the first one?
Yeah.
That the municipal district of Tabor approve
787.50.
a $787.50 donation to the Royal Canadian Legion, number 20, Tabor digital sign and advertising expenses in response to their application to the municipal district of Tabor, donations to community organizations, programs, events, and activities policy.
Right, that's the correct number. Is that what you have? Yeah, that's what I have. Okay, any questions on this motion? Those in favor? That motion is carried. Next one. It is $1,500.
that the municipal district of Tabor approve a $1,500 donation to the Apex community for the Apex Youth Award Bursary for nominee gifts in response to their application to the municipal district of Tabor donations to community organizations, programs, events, and activities policy.
Okay, thank you. MD has been a longtime supporter of these awards. Any questions? I'll call the vote. Those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And the last one is a letter of support for the Tabor Golf Club in their grant application.
As a non-golfer, I can support this one. So
So,
I'll move that the MD of Tabor
Thank you.
approve a letter of support request associated with the Tabor Golf Club grant funding application submitted to the Government of Alberta Community Initiative Stream 1 as a facility upgrade project to improve accessibility, energy efficiency, and outdoor space.
thank you. Any questions? Call the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next item, 2026 operational grants for recreation boards.
Okay, yeah, so an annual operating grants that we provide to the recreation boards, and this is the model that the MD of Tabor uses as far as supporting, again, those operating costs that are related to recreation throughout the MD. There are 6 recreation boards that are listed. We've applied the policy, we have a recreation operating grants policy. We applied it to the values that are being presented to council here today for 2026. And it does include some of the things that are included with regards to our hamlets with some base funding that is associated with them. You can also see that they're in the second portion of the recommendation, you can see that we've applied the ICF agreements that outline some base funding for both the town of Vauxhall and the village of Barnwell. And so those have been all applied to the formula for a total spending from the for recreation spending as per the recreation budget of $502,222.36. And there are some, it is noted in the RFD that there is some consideration for spending associated with operating budget that's pre-approved by council with regards to the MD Park and some of those other recreation activities. And so just to try to include that in the chart that we provided, so that's like a total cost of recreation within the MD of Tabor. And so I can certainly take any questions, but this has been applied as per policy.
Couple of questions I have on the amounts that have been allocated for Vauxhall and Barnwell for the intermunicipal collaboration framework agreements. Why is there such a difference between the amount? Why is Vauxhall receiving such a relatively small amount relative to the amount that Barnwell is? Not that I'm complaining, but just wondering.
Yeah, it's there's an exercise that we go through as far as assigning points to each activity. So each activity that's been presented to us each facility that's provided for recreation. Once the tallies, the formula has been applied, then if the value is below the base funding that's been agreed on in the ICFs, then we top it up and we refer to it as an ICF top up. And so it meets the minimum amount of recreation funding that's been agreed to in the ICF. So it varies each year depending on what the formula rolls out. And so this year for the town of Vauxhall, there was $1,058 required to meet those minimums. And for the village of Barnwell, $13,059.
Deputy Reed, my first year on council, we asked these questions and asked why the amounts were given, and they said, oh, that's just what we do. And so we went through an exercise, a recreation study, that assigned, just make a note, that assigned points for items. It still reflected the same amount of money. So it wasn't like it was a rocket science. We kind of worked backwards. But that was so if Barnwell added a swimming pool or something, it would be taken into account. Whereas before it was just like, oh, this is how we came upon it, but no one could tell us why. So, this is one of those things that I always feel quite comfortable when those interest groups who are recreation volunteer run come, even though we provide a base to the municipality, at least then we're supplementing it in other ways. So sometimes I feel like this number doesn't always reflect, but my reason for not questioning those other ones is because if there's an event in Grassy Lake or an event in Barnwell and we provide that one-off money, generally any MD residents are using that. We're so small, we travel so much. It's not just isolated to one group or another. John? Okay. Yeah, Martin.
Yeah, when I was on the town of Vauxhall, I said, we need a formula so we can explain to people from outside the MD to town, and then it's easier. So I'm glad there's a formula now that works, and it's easy explainable now, because when I was on the town of Vauxhall, it was a lot harder to explain to people where the money went, how it come, and how you come up. So now that there's a formula, it's a lot easier.
And as part of that study, we looked at what other rurals were doing with their urbans and with their hamlets, and we were right in the middle. We weren't the highest, certainly not the lowest, but we felt pretty good about it. Murray, you're ready to make the motion? We'll let Lane ask his question and then I'll go to you.
So just coming back again to the 10-year grant history chart.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's some of them that have remained stable throughout that entire 10-year period, and then others fluctuate. And is the fluctuation due to a change in the point scoring?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the ones that stay the same, such as like the Vauxhall and Barnwell, you can see how that's applied, where the top up essentially maintains that steady funding.
And that rationale for that was the economies of scale of recreation. We just couldn't want to make sure they had adequate. Murray?
Did they bring up the other on the screen, the motion? I'll move that the municipal district of Tabor approve the 2026 operational grants for recreation boards, towns, villages as listed below to be distributed in the following amounts as per policy. Enchant Recreation Board, $48,925.74. Hayes Recreation Board, $48,044.55. Grassy Lake Recreation Board, $47,470.30. Town of Tabor, $209,722.77. Town of Vauxhall, $119,841.58. Village of Barnwell, $14,099.01. And approve the 2026 recreational grant amounts as per the intermunicipal collaboration framework agreements. Town of Vauxhall, $1,058.42. Village of Barnwell, $13,059.99.
Thank you. Any further questions on this? Call the vote. Those in favor? That motion is carried. Hard surface cost analysis.
Good morning. So last council meeting, we deferred a decision on Range Road 14-5, how we wanted to tackle the repair of that road until we provided a detailed cost analysis of our hard surface roads throughout the municipality. So we've done that. As you can see in the attachment, this is what we figure is about 10 years out for the next 10 years. So there's $60 million there. We did go through all the hard surfaces. There are some roads on there that are gravel, but they're just larger projects that we left on this chart. So I'll answer any questions you have. I don't know if you've had time to go through the full list or not, but as you can see, there's a large value there for
the next 10 years. I don't think it was a surprise to anyone, but we did compare it to the transportation master plan. There are some changes that we're recommending from what the transportation master plan stated, just mainly due to our traffic counts. You can see some of the roads on there that don't have traffic counts yet. We will do traffic counts on those roads. We just felt that those sections of roads need some sort of a plan, even though that we don't have a traffic count associated with them. So right now, our decision for recommended type of repair on that road, if it doesn't have a traffic count, is solely administrative opinion. So
That's, so that 60 would be great. 60 million is today's dollars, so
that's right.
if you add inflation on there, it's gonna be way higher than that.
That's
So
right.
that number's gonna be a lot higher.
And it kind of just, I guess, reinforces a little bit that if you drag a certain road out, let's say Purple Oil 14.5, if you take the next 5 years to complete that project, that's only 13 million of the 60 million in over 5 years. So
Wayne?
I appreciate this information. I think that it's rather evident that it needs to serve as an impetus for us to move on to the next discussion that needs to take place around this table, is how we're going to establish some form of enhanced equity and taxation throughout the entire MD. And this, in my mind, tells us why that conversation needs to take place. And the sooner we can get started down that path and help the public understand what's driving that conversation, the better it's going to be for all of us. If we sit back and wait, we're going to lose the investment that has been made in these roads altogether. We can't afford to do it under the current system that we have in place. There needs to be some changes, and this drives that discussion.
yeah, you will see on the chart that there is a lot of proposals to convert back to gravel. So this, if it was council's idea to keep everything in hard surface, that 60 million would be a lot larger.
Questions? Yeah. The graph is important to us. I mean, we drive these roads, so we know which ones are in disrepair. It's just always a bit of a breath taker as to the cost. But I know I just drove White Ash Road yesterday, 16.4. It has another one of those hard surfaces, and I don't think it's even on this list. Oh yeah, second. And it's starting to fail, and that if we don't do something, it'll end up being that it's a huge cost as well. As Deputy Reeves said, if we lose the initial investment, we're in worse trouble. So how do we do this in a timely fashion? And because we know now, if someone's killed because of a bad road, now what do we do?
There, I guess I should point out, there are alternatives to base and pave. Some of the suggestions in here are stabilize and seal coat, so that's a soil cement with a seal coat on top. We've had good success with that. I'm not fully confident in it being a haul road type structure, but that is an option for the Purple Oil or 14.5. We could soil cement it with a chip seal. It would be about $8 million to get that full thing done. The municipality takes on a risk there of not knowing if it will survive that thoroughfare from south to north and north to south. So
So we gotta do a lot of hard services, expensive. It's, when we looked at water, users gotta pay. When we look at, and, the majority of the damage to the roads is the heavier traffic that uses the road. And, that's just plain and simple, that the heavier traffic, and we're looking at more intense, we're looking at putting more land into irrigation, it's gonna get more intense. And so it's gonna be more heavy traffic on the road, so it's not gonna get lighter. It's gonna get damage roads more, because we already got one project where it's gonna be 24 more quarters out there, it's gonna do more damage to the roads. But it's, I think we gotta lean more to the heavier traffic that's doing the damage somehow is, I don't know how we go about it. We gotta get there though, that users gotta pay on that too. Guy driving his little half ton down the road's not doing any damage to that road. The guy's driving a B train down the road and every day doing more damage. It's kind of got to be the same way I looked at it as water. I think if you got more equipment on the road, do more damage. I don't know how we get there, but I think we got to get there sooner or later. If we'd have got there a long time ago, but you can't look in the past. Damage is there, and we got to fix it.
So I almost feel like this should be in, on every agenda of, okay, what do we do next, right? And what are we really willing to do for a budget? And maybe not council agenda, but for sure committee of the whole. Because I mean, we talk about how roads is the most important, and we need to figure out how we're going to do this. And is there a mechanism out there? Is it just taxation? So we just need to have that discussion and come up with a bit of a plan. And I mean, we can't get to 60 million in a year or two. I mean, we wouldn't even have the resources, but what are we going to tag first? And what's the worst one with the most traffic? Administration, do you have a silver bullet for us?
I do not, no.
Lane.
I would just, I'm prepared to just move that we make this a subject of our next committee, the whole discussion as to how we're going to start eating this elephant.
Okay. So Deputy Reeve has moved that the management of MD of Tabor roads be on the upcoming committee of the whole meeting with reference to the 2026 hard surface repair priorities spreadsheet.
And while the reference to the hard surface roads is driving it, the real conversation needs to be focused on how we're going to fund it. And that's going to be the more difficult discussion.
So at some point in there, and the planned funding model, something like that. But I do appreciate, I feel like I want that page laminated in front of me, so every decision we make has that. Just give them a minute.
In the meantime, I've got a question,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Of course.
So I noticed 2 roads in Hayes are slated to be returned to gravel. I can hear the complaining already about it. I get it, So I'm wondering, when they were paved, or oiled, was the traffic counts a lot higher on them than they are now? Or you don't have that information? I'm just curious.
I don't know why they were paved.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no records of why a
Okay.
lot of our roads were paved, so.
Okay. No, I was just curious.
Martin?
I got a simple one for you. What does it cost to grade a half a mile of road? Somebody
just
decided
grade-
they wanted mine grade last night, so they decided to do a fishtail all the way down. It works great for me because I only drive 50K, so it's speed bumps for me. It works great, but
Yeah.
just if people knew what damage they're doing, how much it cost,
Yeah.
the more we get it out in public. I was at work, so I don't know who did it, but when I got home, I was like, oh, somebody decided to create some speed bumps for a half mile.
Yeah, we battle with donuts.
Just a rough idea, what does
all
it
the
cost?
time. I'm
No, I don't
just
need an exact number, just
bringing it up.
I think you get it to like 7,000 or something.
It's $7,000
for a mile, so
Per month.
3,500 for a half a mile that they did last night.
That's
Down.
for the year.
for a year. Yeah.
That's
Oh, just
For a year.
Oh, that's for a full year. Oh,
For a year.
not every time you do it.
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Just check that, Deputy Mayor. Okay. So, go ahead, please.
So I'll move that management of the MD of Tabor roads be on the next committee of the whole agenda with respect to the hard surface road network cost analysis.
Thank you. All right, any further questions? I'll call the vote. Those in favor? Motion is carried.
I will note one last thing regarding 14.5. We had a motion to just create it, to make it safe for a motorist, and that's our intent, and we continually try to patch stuff the best we can on that road. It seems like we patch it and turn around and a few trucks drive over and it's blowing up again, but we will continue to make it safe. We do have our patching program that we will expend some of the funds on 14.5 just so we're not there every single week doing a repair. But we're limiting the funds that we are spending on that road. So.
You referred earlier to the other alternative instead of full base and pave. Would it be possible to do a couple of short sections on that stretch of road to figure out how well it's going to hold up? Is that something that can be spun up and done on a small basis? Or how difficult is it to just gear up to do some of it?
Usually when you do a soil cement job, it's more cost effective to do larger projects. Same with any project. Majority of the, not majority, but there is a large substantial fee for mobilization for the equipment. So
So that's not something that we do internally then?
No,
It's,
no.
okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for.
I did have one resident that made a funny comment. They wanted to thank you for fixing the road in front of their house, but they request you put the pothole back because that's a speed racetrack now.
I get that quite often.
I've got another question. So the road past my place, ES and Hayes, it is holding up very, very well. And what's the difference? Like I'm thinking it's soil cement with an oil overlay or a chip surface.
Yeah, that road was a soil cement with chip seal.
Yes.
I believe it had 3 or 4 layers of chip seal on it.
Could be.
And then we paved it 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, but it's unbelievable how like there is well overloaded potato trucks pounding that road in full, like they're full, you know?
Yeah, and I do believe that soil cement can handle it. It's just
Mhm.
we've had mixed results with soil cement here in the MD. We've had some roads that are extremely well, like 19-0
Mhm.
north of McCain's. That's a soil cement road for the first 2 miles. And there's a lot of heavy traffic on that road. And it's holding up extremely well, except for the shoulders. But on a soil cement job, the shoulders never really hold together anyway. But then we get a road just in town here by Western Tractor. It's a soil cement job and it's probably needs to be torn up and basement paved, so.
You should give it to the town of Tabor. No, what you did on ES was, you dug out 4 feet of dirt in the middle of the road, and then you put filter cloth and pit run in, and then put a foot of cement, or not cement, a foot of clay on top of the 3 feet of pit run, and then you did and that's really done a good job on the road.
Well, it's good that you have a good road, Ernie.
Oh,
All right.
I'm amazed how well it's holding up.
Excellent. Okay, We will continue on now to bylaws. We have the procedure bylaw in front of you. We have had 2 readings of the bylaw. There has been some changes throughout. There is a red line copy and a clean copy. I don't know if you have any further questions. There is some things that are significant difference from the way we've managed before, but we've also kind of, I just read a thing that municipal government thinks they want a big change and then they get back to the way they've always done it. And we did a little bit of that with this one. But I thought it was important to keep the public an opportunity to speak. So if no one has any questions or concerns with the clean copy of the bylaw, I'm looking for 3rd reading. I gave all the rest and made a lot of changes, so I'm not doing this.
Well, I can move third reading,
Perfect.
but I'm wondering, were there any amendments that were made between second and what's going to be third reading? Does this need to be as amended, or did we
So we made
we made those changes between first and second?
and then there was some changes from 2nd to 3rd. They are reflected in the red line copy
Okay.
and the clean copy.
So the proper wording would be that third reading as amended.
No, now it's clean.
Well, but there were changes that were made between second and third. So this is third reading as amended, with the clean copy reflecting the amendments.
I'm not the parliamentarian. I'm
Yeah,
not sure on the exact
so
wording of what
the only
what we
reason
need
that
to
it
do
would
there.
say as amended would be if anyone was gonna make any changes today for 3rd reading. So 3rd reading, as it's presented in front of you, would be considered a clean copy. Now, if we had people who wanted to make changes, then that would be 3rd
Okay.
reading as amended.
Okay, that's the understanding. I'll move third reading.
Okay, Deputy Reeve moves the Municipal District of Tabor give 3rd and final reading of bylaw number 2031, the procedure bylaw. Any questions or comments on the bylaw? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you. So as indicated when we were preparing for the agenda, I will request that we go into closed session as some of the information is relevant to the number 11 policies on MD land. So the closed session is pursuant to section 1972 of the MGA and section 24 and 27 of Div 2 Part 1 of FOIP. Advice from officials 24, privileged information 27, legal opinion on the community pasture grazing lease resolutions. So we'll have a motion to go into close.
I'll excuse myself as it's dealing with community pastures,
Okay, thank you.
and I can give you a motion to go into closed as well.
Okay, well, you have to do one in the other order, so I'm gonna take someone else's motion to go into closed.
I can make a motion to go and close.
Okay, David moved to go into closed. Any comments?
There's no terms.
Okay, Jazz, we're ready? Okay, go ahead, Lane.
I move that we come out of closed session.
Okay, those in favor? It's carried. Okay, there are some motions coming out of closed session. I'll make the first one. Papers put in front of me. That administration and the MD of Theater legal counsel engage with the Oldman Leaseholders Association and their legal counsel representing the 6 community pastures to ensure the community pasture lease reflects the grazing lease policy and clarification on OLHA concerns, and that the community pastures lease return to council for approval. Any comments or questions on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That motion is carried. Next one. Go ahead, David.
I move that the grazing lease policy and associated community pastures lease be amended with the general intent to allow for an ongoing option to renew community pasture leases.
Thank you. Any questions on the read-in motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Those in favor? That motion's carried. Okay, now Ernie, go get him. Well, actually, so in regard to number 11, the draft sale of MDT land and grazing lease, just a second, Ernie, sorry, consideration. Are we okay just to table that discussion until the prior motion? Do we have to do anything with it?
If you want to have these ones dealt with before dealing with this one, I think you would just have a motion to table that item, which then would, I think you table it. You don't table it to a specific meeting date, something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd look for a motion to table it to the upcoming.
Well, do we table it until after the results of this engagement has come?
Yeah, so it'd be
Been
nice if
created.
it could align, right? Okay, anyone want to make a motion to that effect? Motion to table the draft sale of MDT land and grazing lease policy consideration to a time that the legal discussion with OLHA is complete.
I can do that.
I mean, why should be in for the land sale part?
Pardon me?
The draft sale of MD land, yeah. I really shouldn't be talking on that part of it, I guess.
No, we're just tabling.
Yeah, as long as it's tabled, they're not discussing it.
So we just.
Make sure you don't get into trouble.
Yeah.
So the motion is that we table agenda item 11.1 until the outcome of the discussions between MD Tabor and the Leaseholders Association have concluded.
Correct. Okay, are you good with that, everyone? Okay, those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, now you could please go get Councilor Reynolds. John or Lane, I heard you guys talking about, what day did we decide we were gonna move a meeting?
June 30th.
Oh, I
June
forgot
30th,
that.
right? But we don't have a motion on that, right?
No.
We just, I was just,
Well, it
looking-
was just done by through text.
I know, but
Yeah,
then
need a
I will
motion.
make that motion.
So it's the June 23rd meeting being
Yeah, 'cause
rescheduled to
We
the
still have
30th.
enough time to do that.
I can make either one of them.
You can,
I can make either one.
oh, okay. I think just because we have 2 in China,
Yeah.
it makes, that's the,
Someone.
well, my wedding isn't until the 27th, but that's fine. That's still good. Okay, all right. So we are now, we had nothing from the consent agenda. council request for information and motion. Through text, council did discuss moving the June 23rd meeting to June 30th because we have 2 of our council members in China on an economic development matter. And then there was some other busyness for myself and others. So I would move that the June 23rd council meeting be rescheduled to June 30th, 2026. Okay, any questions or debate on that motion? Call the vote. Those in favor? That motion is carried. Any other council requests for information or motion? Seeing none, we dealt with the closed session resolutions. Jazz, are you feeling like we've covered all the items? And Mike? All right, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you guys all texted everybody about changing that meeting, I'm in Red Lodge, I got no service out there, so after my phone, bing, bing, bing.
Oh, man.